What? So today I'm going to take you through a lens to sort of think about how people behave and how mental health sort of plays into that. And it means you have to consider things that perhaps other people just don't. And that's super fucking annoying, it's draining, and it's constant for some people. But we try and do our best. Hey, I'm Alfie. So by lens, I mean kind of like perspective, but a perspective you apply to sort of highlight different stories and tell you a kind of a view of the world. If you have had therapy before, a lot of the ways they teach you to sort of think are kind of like lenses, in that they kind of miss some things to highlight on protecting yourself. So what's today's lens? Today's lens is to view basically everything like a game of chance. Everything you feel, every decision you make, everything you do is you playing a card. Now for today's example, black cards are going to be positive, red cards are going to be negative. If you get a positive number at the end, that means you do something. If you get a negative number, that means you don't. What you want matters a lot less than you think it does. What you think is important matters a lot less than you think it does. What you want to do and what you view as important, especially when you've got mental health, isn't necessarily even what is important to you yourself, but things are going on that change things. Everyone else's cards are a lot more static, but when you start to get into the mental health aspect, things start to get a bit weird. And in different ways depending on what's going on with you, and that's not a judgment call. So when you play that card, what's the number on top? Well, it's cards all the way down. If you drill down into that card, you'll find hundreds, but for our example we're just going to keep it to a few, of cards that are for reasons A, B and C, 1, 2 and 3, sort of all add up to the card on top. And what's underneath those cards? More cards. And it goes down forever. What's at the bottom? More cards. So let's use an example. Let's say you like to be called master, let's say you like to be paid. Or for a more realistic one, you aren't cleaning your room. Why? Let's say you come to the decision of, should I clean my room? And you're getting -1. What's in that -1? Well, underneath, let's say you're ashamed about it a bit. So you want to do it, you want to get it clean. It's really fucking difficult to find anything, so you want to do it, you want to get it clean. Things are starting to get a bit fuzzy, that shouldn't be fuzzy, so you want to do it, you want to get it clean. But you don't personally care. So there's quite a big negative there. And you're a bit depressed. There's quite a big negative there. So what's in the depression part? Well, this is what I've meant by everything starts to get a bit weird. In the depression part is I've got a dirty room. And then I've got a dirty room is I've got depression. And also in I've got depression is I've got a dirty room, so I've got low self-esteem. And under low self-esteem is more depression. And under low self-esteem is I don't clean my room. And under I don't clean my room is I have low self-esteem. It all starts to cycle into itself. Things get weird with the cards when there's some mental stuff going on. Or let's go for ADHD. A bill needs to be paid, but you're not currently feeling like going on that website and entering your details. You've never logged into this account. It's gonna be a whole 3 minutes. You've had bailiffs around before, you know it's a super fucking awkward situation. You know your neighbours think not the best of you when it happens, and you know you'd be fucked if the electricity got cut off. What just happened? But emotionally, you simply don't want to, and so you don't. It overrides everything. You have a lot less choice than other people perhaps do. Or let's go for a more personality disorder area. BPD. Someone is new and interesting, but your identity is fragmented. Your cards that you can play are just a lot less, and they're a lot less you. So when someone new and interesting comes in, you start playing their cards, and then you see them playing cards, and that gets attractive, so you start playing the same cards. But that doesn't mean you like it, you're just liking playing cards that are positive. And so after a few weeks, a few months or whatever, you realise you've wasted a shit ton of money on a hobby you don't really give a shit about, on interest you don't really care about, on a person you don't really care about. You're just attracted to that playing of the cards. They're making the decisions, they're leading their life. They're leading a life that you perhaps don't really know how to lead. Your identity is a lot more fragmented, you have a lot less cards to play. Or still on sort of more attachment issues, when something is happening, a big choice for instance, you have to protect the few cards you have. So that big choice, it gets a lot scarier. What if you lose the few cards you have? What if you can't do anything because whatever you're saying right now is sort of overriding your future? It's going to put cards that you don't want in your deck, and you're going to lose the few cards that you do want in your deck. So then panic sets in, and then there's all sorts of nervous sort of issues. It's very hard to explain to people that you are having feelings that do not have words, or if they do have words, they're in therapy books and not in like everyday language.
Look at this gormless twat. Anyway, I just wanted to say, when you're having super strong emotions, it's really easy for your brain to like think these mean something and follow along and convince yourself of things that perhaps you wouldn't otherwise. And it's just because everything is so strong. And all that's from, really, for most people, is going to be just try and protect the cards they have from a future where those cards get messed with. Even the cards they don't necessarily like, because that's the only you know.
So then weird stuff starts happening. Perhaps that person's completely fine, but now when you start playing cards anywhere around them, because you're starting to get scared, there's just negatives that you cannot help. It's sort of an emotional play. You can't help the play, even if that person is important to you. I love you, BBD people. My relationship history is anything to go by. That's how I know you'll never like and subscribe. I have a type. So we have the lens. Cool. Great. Thanks. What the fuck do we do with it? Think about your cards. Think about how they manifest for you. If you think about it in cards, it might help you identify what you need to do to alter the cards that you don't want to get played, or the cards that are getting played without you sort of realizing it. So for instance, if you have an instant trigger card, let's call them, where you're pulling a card, but another card's getting instantly pulled without you having a real say-so, and it's manifesting in you doing things or not liking things that perhaps you should or do like. If that's how it's manifesting for you, when you pull those cards, take a breather. Recognize why you pulled the original positive, and slowly, mentally work yourself back from the big negative that got drawn with it. Or practice interrupting that when it's getting pulled. Can you take a breather? Can you just wait? There's no rush for any of this. People who are around you do not care if you have to take 5 seconds to recenter yourself and sort of work through whatever's going on. So don't rush. If you need to interrupt that by breathing exercises are very common in therapy for a very good reason, then perhaps that's what you need to do. Or can you focus on something around you? When that second card's getting pulled, can you focus on things around you and sort of overload other numbers to sort of try and wipe it out and push it away by counting to 5? By counting 5 things you see and 5 things you hear. These are very common tactics and there's a reason for it. Or perhaps there's a constant, a bit more like depression, where it's like cycling in itself and it's causing you trouble and you don't know what to do. Well, unfortunately, it's very hard to talk to depressed people because depression, as I've shown here, is sort of something that plays into itself quite heavily. If that sounds like you, unfortunately, the reality is you've got to start with the basics. Things like journaling, sleeping well, going outside every day for at least 10 minutes, exercising if you can, working in a new hobby, habit or goal that you can try and get some easy wins. Writing down in that journal, by the way, every day or every couple of days, how bad do I feel right now? Or perhaps focusing on things that you are grateful for. Take yourself out of your mind for a second and be grateful for things that you do have. Be grateful for people around you, trying to make sure you say thanks to people and appreciate when things go right. Now, this might sound super fucking simple, and there's a fucking reason for it. Because a lot of the cards under your cards are for very physical dopamine brain reasons. Or some of your cards under your cards are a bit wibbly wobbly, really. You might think they're a -5, but when they're reality a -3. The less you think about it, the more it's a -5 and not a -3. Writing it down gives it a solid, gives it, this is what it is. Going outside gives you dopamine, that's what it is. It gives you vitamin D, is it? I don't fucking know. Sleeping well means you get less stressed, which means your numbers that you're writing down are slowly going to decrease. Is this going to fix everything? Fuck no. But being able to handle life well and handle life a bit better is obviously going to make you a bit less depressed, because it's sort of strategies that force and work, regardless of whether you believe in them and regardless of whether you trust that they will work. Now, they may not fix everything, but they will increase it. And those cards that you play, those depression cards that are affecting everything else, will slowly decrease. And then you will be able to play better cards and better cards and better cards. Is the aim. That's the aim. And obviously, with all of this, go to fucking therapy. I'm not your therapist. I'm just making a fucking YouTube video. And finally, forgive yourself if you have a past where you have fucked up, or things have gone wrong, or things have got a bit weird for a while, or chaotic for a long time. I've sort of brought this up in tangential ways in other videos, like subscribe, see them all. Go watch them all, click them, subscribe, pay me money if you want. Your cards, when you're younger, the cards that you're playing, are built by people around you, because you haven't had a chance to build a deck yourself. And if they aren't building in the right cards, if they aren't making the deck good for you and good for a future life, there's going to be card pulls that you should be pulling that you're not pulling because you don't know to. There's going to be card pulls that you are pulling that you shouldn't be pulling. The numbers that are coming out are based on your deck. They're based on your past. They're based on the deck you've been given, either by parents, by school, or by things that have happened. So when you're pulling numbers that you perhaps shouldn't have, don't blame yourself for it. Don't let that hold you back from future improvement. Don't let that dictate your future. You can build your own deck. You can stack your own deck. There's nothing stopping you, or for most people at least. And one thing to point out is your deck is built by your experiences. It's not just childhood, and it's not just other people. It's built by what happens afterwards. And a lot of these issues can cause you to either make mistakes or just inherently isolate yourself and maybe stick into rigid boundaries, stick into what you're comfortable and what you know. But there's a big problem with that. Your deck's not changing. If you're happy there, to be clear, stay there. Never do anything else, right, other than be happy. But if you're having those episodes where you're either doing things you shouldn't be doing, maybe getting addicted to things you shouldn't be touching, or turning your arms into a crossword puzzle, then perhaps things aren't as happy as you need them to be, or they should be. What I'm saying is just don't stick in that. Just use it as a launch pad to sort of improve and slowly build upon it. And to be clear, you can have multiple things. Very easily can have multiple things. It's a bit like that saying, the rich get richer. Well, people who are fucked get a bit more fucked. It's very easy to sort of have completely competing and completely opposite things that will hold you back even further and build even stronger negatives that are really hard to crack and really hard to work. Whether that's social anxiety and being isolated and having depression, and therefore you don't really talk to people, therefore you never really have the experiences that would let you improve and sort of notice healthier habits and big triggers of yourself and red flags and stuff like this. And so when eventually those things do happen, you still don't know how to do these things, and that's fine. One thing I will be doing eventually, I've promised this before, eventually I'll be making videos on common phone calls you might make, common processes like going abroad, getting a plane, getting a bus, getting a train, and perhaps how to get qualifications or whatever, to try and demystify it a bit. Try and at least let you know predictably what you can expect and what you can expect things to look like and how you can expect things to happen. So those negatives are at least a little bit lower, and hopefully that can help. So don't blame yourself and just move forward. In a way, it's really hard because the past is very important. The past is playing a lot into these cards, but also in reality, the past doesn't matter because only what you do going forward matters. And see a fucking therapist, but don't relegate therapy and changes and things like that to therapy. The whole point is to be applying this stuff in your day-to-day life. So be brave, you will fuck up, but you also improve over time and get to a happier place. Anyway, I'm bored of today. I'm gonna head off. See ya.